So not to further ado, please have a seat and please all the speaker at the stage, on the stage. Firstly, can I, yes. And four ค่ะ หนูยืนค่ะอาจารย์ หนูยืนค่ะพอค่ะ ค่ะ So please give applause to Director Kiet Chai, Director of Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization. Woo!
Hello.
He will
สวัส
lead.
ดีครับ
Yes, he will lead Thailand to the net zero. Yes. Next is Anna Wellingstein, the Sustainable Development Director, East and Pacific World Bank. We need climate finance to make this work, and she probably have an answer because she's focusing on Asian and Pacific, and Thailand is part of that. Thank you. And Angela Pancho from the Climate Center of Energy Policy, University of Pennsylvania. Woohoo! Ivy League. Last but not least is CEO Tori from American Society of Landscape Architects. Woohoo! Landscape architect. So not to further ado, can we start this conversation about leveraging voluntary carbon market? What is it and what is Thailand vision about this? Please, Director.
Good afternoon. Firstly, we should clarify what is the voluntary carbon market work. Actually, based on Paris Agreement on Article 6, is that article that it provides the country do cooperation each other, using the mechanism to help each other. Like a 6.2 is a bilateral one. Country to country can exchange the mitigation outcome is either. 6.4 is another one that if you create a project and that project is integrity enough, it can use for the offset to another country. So that even though this non-market mechanism like a 6.8 is can do for the grant one to support without any market. So that means that collaborating each other can help for our goal to be net zero easily. Okay, that means two things can be happen in the world that we should put the policy for emitter to pay like a carbon pricing policy, as well as that we can do for taxation, for emission trading, or other things. But we open for voluntary carbon developer project as well, project developer. This one is open for developing country or others that cannot control by regulation, like a non-regulation. So both things like carbon pricing policy and voluntary carbon credit developer is help each other. Okay. Back to Thailand. Thailand, we just announced this afternoon that we have a collaborating with Switzerland to do collaboration each other for the project development for EV bus in Thailand.
Yes.
And we share the crediting mechanism each others. Just transfer for this month. That is the first one for the world. For the mitigation outcome, that the international mitigation outcome is small, is either already. This one represent both countries work together to help the world to reduce the greenhouse gas. Thailand is happy to do the project with support from Switzerland, and we share them the credit out, but the credit have to be certified and make an MRV system that is intricate enough that can be offset. That means we, Thailand, have opportunity to do the project more,
To do better.
to do the project more.
Wow.
And based on optimize and justify ourselves. So that the market mechanism can help our world to optimize the cost, to reduce the
Director
greenhouse
ค่ะ
gas.
so that means we're doing good, we're doing well, and we get paid by
Yeah.
doing that as well.
Let's say when we like to buy something, that means we have a constraint to do by ourselves.
Yes.
We cannot make it, we cannot do it enough. But that means we like to buy. We like to buy something because we have constraint, right? It's the other hand, supplier that can do something more for others and share. Both things work together in a market mechanism.
Yes.
So the market mechanism make the lower cost because we can buy the thing with our optimized cost and someone do the thing more to supply the things with profit.
Yes.
So both can work together. So okay, this country to country can work together. In the same time, we can make our country work together as well. That means now, domestic carbon market is creating the collaborating in the country to optimize the cost of this country that we have to set the target with the lower cost. We have to make the market work. That means the rich company have to responsible to pay for, and the developing company like SME or other small company can develop the project. Or like the World Bank do many support for the SME, for the people that's a rural area that can develop the project. And the big company can help and buy and share with each other. So this is a concept that can make the world better, like an Article 6 concept. So that I do believe that the market mechanism can help each other to have a better cost, to have better successful. So the topic like this, that means we should promote the project developer.
Yes.
We should promote the MRV process to verify that project could be offset, high quality offset.
Yes.
And we like to promote the carbon pricing policy for each company to work. So that the whole market, buyer need to justify themselves why we have to buy. The seller have to justify themselves to develop the project with profit. And they need the platform to exchange that the very transparency and the goods registry to account for the balance from the issuer, from transferring to others, and then the offset and cancellation. So the whole process need to be designed.
Yes.
And if this design for good, it can help for both, like project developer, any type, like energy transformation, transportation,
Yes.
agriculture, waste management, or forestation. So
Yes.
the whole thing need work together. Once we have a negative, excessive things, we can exchange with the one that needs some help. So that is my belief that, okay, voluntary
collaboration.
carbon market
Yes.
is another option, not only for the only carbon pricing, but voluntary one is the one that can help and make opportunity for the
Yes.
like undeveloping and unsupport to make more project
Yes.
development. Thank you.
Before we going to Professor Angela, can I ask you very basic questions? We have 33% of forests in our country. What is that carbon market? Is that part of selling Are we going to sell our forest to other country or how does it work?
Actually, our country, we have like a national inventory for emission around 372 million ton annually in 2018. And we have like a capability for requestation about 86 million ton annually. So net is still 200 something. What we consider is that we have to reduce our emission through energy, to IPCCs, like industrialized, to waste, to agriculture.
Yes.
And we try to make up our reforestation. Our target now from 86 to 120 million ton. This one is our own, okay?
We don't sell to other people.
So that means what we can share to others, that means we have to do more and buy another support. And then that means we have to do some negative to exchange them. Because we have to make our target net zero as well. Right?
We still not meet our target.
So what we can do, we have to promote our country to make some more for others and trade with others that if our cost is lower, we can share.
Yes.
But now, as a Paris Agreement, we have to be net zero anyway, right? So that we have to consider very carefully how we exchange with them.
Yeah, it's
And
very
if
tricky.
it's really too cheap and marginal cost at the end, we very expensive, it's not justified for us to do so.
Exactly. Oh, this is very clear. Thank you so much, Director. Can we have your opinion, your view for this,
Sure.
Professor?
It's great to hear the positive side of the voluntary market because there has been a lot of negatives, and these negatives needs to be corrected. And some of the negatives is like the distraction they may cause for the abatement of emissions when offsets are very cheap because, I mean, you talk about having to really reduce this price. So companies and countries will have an incentive to just get offsets and perhaps delay the necessary changes for reducing their own emissions. So that's the first negative point of offset, that they shouldn't be seen as an incentive to delay their own emissions. The other point of the problem with the carbon markets, and that's why there's need to improve them, is the credibility. Because, I mean, a project like the one that you described, I mean, you are making sure that, and this is really reducing the amount of emissions, and it's going to be technically verified. But that doesn't happen around the world. And there is a lack of credibility of some of the people who offer these projects that, for example, in the case of forests, if the forest may burn, then what happened to those emissions, to those abatements? So the problem with the permanency of these solutions is also critical. It has to be improved. And the third is like technical criteria, like making sure that this project is really additional. That means that it wouldn't happen otherwise if this funding doesn't come. And that is very important because if it's business as usual, perhaps this money should go to solutions that could really abate emissions. So these are the problems that the UNFCCC has been trying to solve, and today there was a full session on negotiations about how to do it. And I think from the three articles that you mentioned, the 6.2 and the bilateral agreements between countries, I think is very promising because it can bring up these sort of deals that you just mentioned. But for the more market-oriented, where there's going to be a big offer of projects, demand of projects, I mean, the rules have to be set clear because the UNFCCC wants to control have a control of this market, to set these methodologies, perhaps to solve these problems that they've seen in the past. But it's a question of if the countries abide to this, especially the host countries that, as part of the solution, the country who is hosting a project needs to then eliminate these emissions and reductions from their carbon budget. And that could be tricky, and I think as a host country, there is something that has to be clearly to avoid things like, I mean, we hear this deal that happened just before COP, where the UAE, a company of the UAE is abating 10% of the land of Liberia. 10%. Liberia is completely giving 10% of the land for emissions abatement, and that shouldn't be the case. So all these clauses that are right now in the process of being discussed, I think they are going to be promising for more deals like the one that you described to happen.
Wow, but it's also very tricky, as you mentioned. How can we preserve those credits? Like if we have like climate change, you have a fire. Where is that gonna exist, and how the credit's gonna work? Who gonna certify with all this project? Is it a job for the government already, or is like a business as usual project, or how can we define that? This is very tricky. Anyone what? World Bank, how can you fund this project if it's that tricky? Yes.
So I think they're excellent points, both by the director in terms of the potential of carbon markets to both provide the financing needed for these investments that are critical, as well as to use market signals to incentivize innovation and incentivize a least cost option to reducing emissions. So I think they're very valid. But I think your points are also going as well. These are new markets and they haven't always worked well. So in the World Bank, we're working at a couple levels to try and help. One, to bring credibility to the emission reductions, as you spoke. So are these projects that are really reducing emissions? Have we measured them well? Have the methodologies for measuring their reduction been the appropriate ones and applied well? Are there strong monitoring and verification systems? Are they registered so they're not duplicate credits in the market? We've been worrying on another point about equity, and I don't think we've had a chance to talk about that. Do the people that are making the moves really benefit from it? Do the developing countries and governments that are making the reductions benefit? Do the businesses that are doing it? Do the local populations, especially in forest areas, benefit from the carbon income? And I think that's really important. And then finally, that markets are working well. They're new markets. They're just being set up. So are they transparent? Are they liquid? Those are things that we're working on, and I think those are all works in progress.
Oh my God, I'm not gonna get money from World Bank now. It sounds really like, yes. So, Director, you have something quickly before Tori?
I do agree that like a greenwashing problem is another thing. That why what we discuss is standardized of the guideline of 6.2 or 6.4. That means now all crediting mechanisms have to review and revise themselves to match with 6.2 Article 6. I think when we have a discussion, even though in this COP 28 now, discuss a lot on this topic, right? To make the voluntary carbon credit is more integrity, especially for the additionalities, is sustainability, risk, harmness for social co-benefit, anything that. So that now the carbon credit is more tough to have, right? It's not easy like a CDM, our first tier CDM, and even though the warranty like many industry have now. So all the things have to review, especially for the CORSIA itself, for the ICAO itself, have to review again. So anyway, if the standard is strengthened to minimize the risk to be greenwashing, understanding the offset is more integrity to be offset. The market still work, anyway. Yes.
Yes. So now back to Tori. I think green wash and green job. Tori is a CEO of Landscape Architects. So yes, let's see what other opportunities that can be raised for many other professions, and also how can, from the technical point of view, from the expert, how can what the conversation here been resolved? Back to you.
White. Oh, I think it's on. Is it on? All right. This has been really educational. I represent 16,000 landscape architects in the U.S., but there are about 80,000 landscape architects around the world. And we're just beginning to think about how to integrate offsets and think about them in our work, and integrating that into nature-based solutions and our approaches to climate change. So just really, really quickly, oh, you already fast-forwarded for me. Just want to talk about, can you go back a slide? There we go. So, no, not that far. So recently, a couple of years ago, we developed a climate action plan for the organization. And it includes some pretty ambitious goals for the organization and for the profession to offset emissions. So you can go to the next slide. This is the plan. Keep going. I'm going to try to stay within that 5 minutes. One more. So the plan includes goals around what we want to achieve over the next 5 years. And actually, one of the people who worked on the plan is sitting right here in the front row, Pamela Conrad. Give her a round of applause if you'd like. So, what do we want to do in this plan? We want to achieve we want all landscape architecture projects to achieve zero embodied and operational emissions and increased carbon sequestration by 2040. Next one. We also want to provide significant economic benefits in the form of measurable ecosystem services, healthcare benefits, and green jobs. Next. Address climate injustices, empower communities, and increase equitable distribution of climate investments, and restore ecosystems and protect, conserve, and enhance biodiversity. So, we can keep going. One more. Keep going. All right, so how does all of this fit into this conversation about offsets, which is what Koch is looking at me, telling me to get to, get to the point. So we're going to encourage all of our landscape architects to strive to achieve zero emissions in their business operations and projects and make necessary investments to achieve those goals. While offsets and onsets, which are verified offsets embedded into landscape architecture projects, can then be used to achieve carbon positive goals, going beyond zero. That's the goal. So ASLA has been developing its own criteria for its offsets based on the work of landscape architecture firms. And the goal is to develop an offset investment strategy that aligns with our collective values as an organization. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, one more back. So, for example, criteria developed by a firm in the States that practices internationally, Sasaki, includes a couple things that I'd like to highlight. The first is an invest in carbon sequestration, not mitigation. Each dollar that goes to planting trees or restoring wetlands or prairies authentically offsets emissions. Number two, offset projects must support biodiversity. So many tree planting projects are monoculture forestry projects that are more like tree farms and do not support structural complexity or biodiversity. Third, offset projects must not be exploitive of local and indigenous populations. Restoration investment should be part of an integrated conservation and development program and support local jobs. 4, offset projects must be third-party certified and measurable results. And 5, trees used in offset projects must be protected for at least 20 years before they are harvested as timber or forest products. So recently, we have a conference every year, and recently we were in Minneapolis, and this was our first time sort of integrating offsets into our programming. So for our 2023 conference, we announced a new partnership with Green Minneapolis, an innovator in urban tree carbon offsets, to scale up those efforts. Green Minneapolis collaborated with Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board to complete the first urban tree carbon offset project in Minnesota. The project is part of the Twin Cities Climate Resilience Initiative, a public-private partnership that will significantly expand the urban tree canopy across Minneapolis and the 7-county Twin Cities metropolitan area. Through city forest credits, a national nonprofit carbon registry, the Urban Tree Canopy Carbon Offset Project, has achieved third-party verification for its carbon credits. The project includes 23,755 city trees planted by the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board from 2019 to 2021. And over its 25-year duration, the project is estimated to store 48,865 metric tons of carbon and will provide qualified co-benefits related to rainfall interception, air quality, and energy savings. According to Green Minneapolis, offset funds collected by ASLA and its members will support a 20-year vision to increase the metro area's tree canopy through planting and manufacturing 5 million trees on public and private lands, with a focus on addressing environmental inequities in the most disadvantaged communities. So this is just our first program or step forward in integrating offsets in our nature-based solutions approach to design and addressing the climate crisis. And I wanted to share that with you so that you can be thinking about that as part of this conversation that we're having here today.
Thank you, Tori. It's really give me an idea that if I want to create more urban canopy in Bangkok, can I do that through TGO? Will you be credited and will we get money from other countries as well? So that's very tricky, yeah.
It depends on what kind of credit. That if the nation to nation, it need to have approve from the government because we have to need to have a corresponding adjustment to avoid double counting. Yes. Two things, country to country as a 6.2, 6.4
Yes.
is have to adjust. So that we can do, but we have to justify why. So second thing, for the ICAO or COSIA, we need to have approved as well. But if the company overseas like to offset by themselves by utilize the voluntary carbon market, it's okay. That's fine. So the three
level as well.
Three things, all domestic offset. So that is the requirement on that. So anyway, the high requirement is from international as well. So in the domestic, it depends on what kind of regulation in the country for offsetting policy. Yeah.
It sounds very complicated.
So that means
yes.
the project can be developed. It should justify for the carbon price for the market at that time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Professor, I'm sure we're going to go to Anna, but you look a little bit skeptical. Professor Angela, you have something to add on my project?
No, it's not a skepticism. It's, when you're talking about international transaction, like
Yes.
that you ask, I think at this time, there is no real transparency when setting the prices of these projects.
Yes.
And so when you see in the voluntary market, these offsets are very cheap compared to what companies, international companies, disclose that they will be willing to pay for getting to their net zero targets. So we have made a study where there is such a disconnection that while the offset in the market, they just can pay these days is no more than $2 per metric ton of carbon. What they disclose as an internal carbon price that they would be willing to pay is around $70.
Oh no.
So I think for developing countries, it's necessary that there is more request as negotiators that there will be more transparency on the prices because these disclosures should correspond. And if the offsets become more expensive, that I think everyone benefits because these companies are willing to pay more, but the recipient countries can structure projects that perhaps are not just about forest, perhaps include infrastructure. So I think that's something to...
Thank you, Professor. And now I can see that several countries will lower the price to really get that. And who is the cheapest? Oh my gosh, this is more than just want to adding on canopy in Bangkok. I feel hopeless a little bit, but let's hear something more hopeful from Anna from World Bank. No, present. You present. And please answer my project as well. I'm going to convince the governor. Yeah, this is a clicker. You can understand, yes. Please bring us some hope that the carbon market is not that complicated and we can do better. Easily, quickly, on time for 2030. Yes.
Super. So thank you very much. I want to talk just a little bit about investments in mitigation. So yes, I mean, there are companies that are registering credits and seeing what's possible. The World Bank has been really pioneering a lot in the forest space, and those are a bit trickier. I think the methodologies around forests to verify emission reductions are a bit trickier, as Angela said before, and I think some of the controversies that have been out in public on veracity of credits have come from the forest space because the methodologies are trickier. I think in the energy space, it's much more straightforward. So both all kinds of energy use in terms of energy efficiency, conversion to renewables, I think sort of conversion in public transport, they're all more straightforward and easy to measure. So the monitoring and verification systems are easier. And there are companies that are out there that will register your emission reduction into systems so that you have it sort of documented and registered and it can be traded. I don't know if that answers your question.
Can we certify the urban space to be part of the carbon market?
I mean, jurisdictional carbon credits are sort of a gold standard approach. So we're doing jurisdictional carbon credits, spatial carbon credits in rural areas around forests and things. In urban areas, I'm just thinking out loud, but you would need to know, if you're doing urban space in general, you would need to know all of the actions you're taking to reduce emissions and then be able to have a methodology to make estimations about the impact of each of those investments and then monitor, verify all of them and register all of them. And it strikes me as a slight bit more complex because there would be a wide variety of actions. So I might not know, it might happen, but the transactions I do know in urban areas are for specific kinds of activities like energy efficiency or conversion to renewables or movement to different transit systems. But maybe others on the panel know of jurisdictional work in urban areas.
In the urban areas, it has some project is applicable, like district heat, like energy efficiency by the cooling system or something like that. But anyway, it depends on the methodology that accepted by market. It's not any project. It depends on, even it's good project, but it may not applicable for the voluntary carbon market methodologies. It depends that have an integrity to MRV process or not. Yes. So some can, some cannot, something like that, right?
Yes, it's very tricky in a way because, like in Bangkok, we probably need that very transparency. Oh, yes. Okay. Let's.
We have heard from like these verification companies, one big one like Bera, speaking about introducing technologies to be able to facilitate this verification. And I suppose that will be at urban level as well. It's more for obviously for nature-based solutions, satellite technologies. But they announced they are really implementing this at scale to really make more credible their verification. So that may come. Vera.
And I just have, because it's probably not about the green space. Sometimes we need swamp, we need wetlands, and we need many more type of ecology. So how could that real landscape or real nature can be rewilding in the city as well? So yes. Okay, you, yes, stand up, introduce yourself. Questions.
Hello, my name is Tomás Restrepo. I come from a developing country. I guess
Colombia.
for Angela it's not difficult to guess which one is it. We still don't have like a regulated market, and we're like exactly like in this point, asking ourselves whether to implement the regulated market, not to implement the regulated market. I'm wondering if there might be like any conflict in implementing the regulated market with, I mean, if you're talking about like transparency and making like the verification more clear, if that is not in the end moving towards regulated markets.
Thank you.
Well, is the scope of the market, because the regulated market will be really for the country, the local country. With the voluntary market, you have access to an international demand. So when you, obviously, what you're going to affect is for your own abatement of emissions as a country that you regulate, and it's the companies in your country, in Colombia, for example, that will be subject to the regulation, the emission emitter companies. But I mean, you can make the market, the regulated market, more liquid, because you may have the supply of more demand, and that may make the market a little bit more active, and a more liquid market perhaps will help with the prices, because the problem is that just a local market is starting, depending on the sectors that you are going to regulate, which normally is limited to the energy sector, could be limited, and the companies that may, you cannot set high prices because that has an effect internally. While the voluntary market may provide international funds for other sort of projects, but those projects wouldn't count for the NDCs of Colombia. So there are trade-offs. But there are market solutions that I think all definitely help for achieving climate targets.
Director Getcha, you have any recommend for the country like that's not in the market yet, but
Yeah,
what should?
I think it depends on if the country emission is not much, that means they have opportunity to offset themselves by develop some project to offset. And based on that, maybe you can have a negative or like a potential to do more. That means this one it can share for others because we have opportunity. Some country, no opportunity. The one that you reduce is very expensive and very tough to work, and any resources to invest is a lot. Many countries face like that. The thing that this country can do is like a carbon pricing policy for the taxation or a limitation on the allowance for emit, the control. So that is like a ecosystem for regulate or regulate market. But for other country, developing country can do more, but no need for them. It's just enough, right? But some country difficult. So that's why regulate market is for big emitter. For voluntary market, it's like a lean one. But no support. What you are, it depends.
Wow, this is very knowledgeable. Really get me thinking many directions. Oh my gosh. Is there any other questions before we ending this session? Burning. It can be something very simple. I'm with you. I'm very new to this. Yeah, Tabo, Professor Tabo. Yes, please stand up, introduce yourself, and so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Coach. My name is, do I have to say my name? My name is Tabo. I'm an architect and I'm at the University of Pennsylvania as well. I have a question for the landscape ASLA. How difficult or easy is it to sort of get practitioners on board to the idea of sort of measuring their project emissions?
There's a landscape architect in the room smiling. That is the work that we're doing right now. So we have, actually Pamela's probably better to answer this question, but she has there are a number of platforms and tools that have been developed, one being Pathfinder that Pamela's created and developed and is actually updating right now to better track these actual progress of these projects. I think you have 10,000 projects logged at this point. Which, you know, considering the number of projects that are happening, we got some work to do, right? But I think that we're slowly getting the word out. Part of the thing that we put in the Climate Action Plan was a call to action to our members to actually log their projects, and that was part of that 2040 vision that we shared. So, you know, it's slowly but surely we're getting landscape architects to get on board and actually, you know, we have partial log. I think she has some projects that are partially logged, and then I think you have 1,000 that are fully logged, and so we're getting there, slowly but surely. Yeah, I'll share with you the Climate Action Plan afterwards. Yeah.
Thank you, Tori. So may I close this session by asking you a question? How can we make this process more just? And how can we make this process more just? And in your sector, what can we do? And what is the question that need to be added on? I'm sure this audience coming from developing, maybe least developed. How can we be part of all these equations?
Well, I think the thing that's resonating with me is thinking about the carbon markets and sequestration. And as we plant more trees, and we have to be mindful of forest, and so that we don't completely decimate forests and compromise biodiversity, it's part of this process. And so I think more education for our members and practitioners is going to be really important in all this. So that's what I think my takeaway is from this conversation, as well as a lot of other very technical parts of this conversation.
Definitely, Tori, landscape architects and landscape architects and all the profession have to educate on this very clearly, so we know exactly we not like fall into unjust process of doing of cleaning things or doing good things. Yes, thank you. Professor Angela, you look skeptical for the whole session. No, you're not.
Just
okay.
my face.
No. I'll just yes, please.
So I mentioned, one of the points is like this offset shouldn't be at low cost. Because the recipients, the countries where the projects are originating, because there are all these transactions on top of that for verification, at the end of the day, they are getting very little of these projects. So I think there should be an effort and perhaps improving what the UNFCCC is trying to do, improving the whole mechanism, may provide a better certification and more credibility on these projects, and that may give a premium so that they get paid more. And the other aspect is that projects, if projects are going to be proposed, they should have social impact in addition to the reduction of emissions, so that there is a win-win, for the recipient, that is reducing emissions, perhaps getting to net zero targets, but at the same time is doing social investment.
Thank you so much. Don't just go to net zero through numbers, but bring the people, bring the social, bring the humanity with you as well. And it's proof that it's have to have real benefits on ground. Thank you. I'm with you. Yes.
So I just want to agree with you and Angela and start with that idea that the transition stimulated by the carbon markets should be a just transition. So are there social impacts to the shift that you're doing? Are there environmental impacts that you're doing? And make sure that those are paid attention to. Second, I would say transparency in the market. So people know what prices that are being traded at. People know the value of their emissions and the reduction so that people can come in and make transactions, do transactions as an informed choice in the marketplace. So I think that's the second thing I would flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Back.
For me, as a representative for the TGO, Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, is that the organization that's certified for the emission, certified for the credit, take care for the MRV, so that we are the process management to account both for footprints and crediting mechanism, as well as the market exchange or offsetting standard. So what we like to make it done, that means we have to set up the ecosystem, that very transparency, efficiency, especially for the platform, for the methodology and process, and verification process that have some more flexibilities and lower costs. So both things can make the thing happen and can save for the intricity, for the offsetter to happy to buy. And it's open opportunity for the project developer, especially for the developing country, or the SME company or the city to develop project themselves, have opportunity to make them better or more economies for them. So very important is voluntary carbon market. It's open opportunity for the lower people. Thank you.
Thank you. And can we give big applause to all the speakers? And thank you for what they're doing to make the global reach the goal that we are waiting for. And thank you. And we please invite